This podcast is brought to you by Midland Saxon Covers, Clara, County Offaly. We make custom covers for any requirement or project. Screen printing service is also available. Find us at midlandsaxoncovers.ie.
Broadcasting live from the little town of Clara, County Offaly, it's What's the Story with Lloyd Bracken. Get in touch today through all our social channels and have your say. Oh, and thanks for listening. Now it's over to you, Lloyd. What's the story?
Hi everyone, very welcome back to What's the Story, episode 15 with myself, Lloyd Bracken. Hope you're all well and had a good week. Great reaction to last week's podcast with the Clara Heritage Committee. It's great to hear some great information from the little town, and there's so much to do and see, as we all knew already. This week, I suppose we're back in lockdown in a way, and it's hard to get people into studio, and you're trying to keep everybody safe and that. So I took an opportunity to head around the world again and talk to some Clara expats who were near and not so near, I suppose. So we'll see how we get on. Let's see if you can guess from this type of music where we're off to first. Sharon Kavanagh, what's the story?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good now, or should I say, quella é historia? I think that's Portuguese for what's the story, but sure, however. Whereabouts in Clara did you move from?
Well, I grew up in Frederick Street in Clara. Good spot. My dad's Sharon Kavanagh and my mum is Lily Kavanagh.
Very good. So first and foremost, pardon the pun, somebody will get that pun. So Sharon, why Brazil?
I met a man from Brazil. He convinced me to take a chance and see what happens. So
it's the man's fault.
And it's the man's fault. Yeah, it's always the man's fault. We met in Dublin. I was living in Dublin actually when we met, and he's a hairdresser and I'm a hairdresser. So he was studying English in Dublin.
When did you move to Brazil, Sharon?
It's in February this year, so I'm still very new.
Okay, so you moved there right in the height of a pandemic then?
We arrived about 2 weeks before things got really bad. For the first 2 weeks we travelled. We were actually quite lucky because we went to Salvador in the north, and then we went to his hometown, which is Sergipe, and then we came back through Rio. So we got to see a little bit of Brazil, which was really, really good. But then we came back to Sao Paulo, where we're based, and then just everything just shut down. So it was a little bit crazy.
Is there heavy restrictions at the moment in Sao Paulo?
Not at all. The attitude is very different here. Like when we came back after traveling, it was quite strict, so everything closed. So I think for maybe the first 2 months, maybe 3 months, it was locked down. But like, it's different from at home. You know, I could tell from, seeing the media at home, like talking to my family and stuff. It was a lot stricter there, To be honest, the good thing here is that we have to wear masks everywhere we go. You can't walk in the street, you can't, go into the shop. But like now everywhere is open. The pubs are open, the restaurants are open, hair salons. It's pretty normal. And in the last week or two, I think it's definitely got a little bit more relaxed again,
So Brazil in general, Sharon, is it all samba?
No. It's so funny because like I had a lot of Brazilian friends in Dublin, so you do learn a little bit about Brazil before you come, but every part is so different. Like Vinny is from the north and it's very much countryside. Salvador, like that area is it's got like a big African community, and it's amazing. It's really nice. And like it's so funny because like a lot of people here listen to a type of music called sertanejo, which is like country music, and I was like, I thought Brazilians were, samba and all that, and in Rio and places like that it is, but it's really popular here, like country music, and people love like the cowboy style and all this. It's very funny.
So I just wonder,
very different.
Would Foremost get a few gigs out there?
They actually probably would, yeah.
I know you're in Sao Paulo, like that is a huge Japanese population too, hasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't realise that actually until I was in Dublin and I met a lot of Brazilians, and they were telling me like that the biggest Japanese community outside of Japan is in Brazil. It's in Sao Paulo mainly. There's an area called Liberdade here, and that's where they're based. And it's very much when you go there, you don't feel like you're in Brazil at all,
So how does a girl from Clara fit in there?
I don't know if I do.
Do you stick out like a sore thumb, Sharon?
It depends on the area you go to. Like, Sao Paulo was so mad because it's so different. There's parts of it that are like, they're a little bit poorer areas.
Mm.
And then there's the areas that are really, really rich. Like the divide between the rich and the poor is crazy here. Like it's something that I still find it hard to get used to,
Right.
to see people in, like, the wealth here is crazy, the massive mansions, the fancy cars, it's crazy. And then, the poor areas, there's a lot of poverty, I mean, where I'm living at the moment, I do stick out like a sore thumb, I feel very self-conscious walking down the streets too,
So is there any Irish community out there, Sharon?
Not that I found. I've actually found a few Irish bars.
Hold on a minute now. So
They're
there's
actually
no
quite
Irish,
good.
but you found Irish bars. That's the most
I
Irish
know,
thing.
yeah. I know, it's so funny. Like, I still can't find it. I met there's a client of Vinny's actually, and he's Scottish, so that's the closest I've got to meeting another Celt, I suppose. There's not that much of a community at all. And then I suppose with the pandemic and everything, it's harder to meet people at the moment, even though things are more back to normal, but still the pubs are a little bit quieter than, what they'd normally be. So still not 100%. And I don't know if maybe it was more normal, like before the pandemic, maybe I'd have more of an opportunity to meet more Irish,
So you heard me speaking some very bad Portuguese. Can you speak the language, Sharon?
Un pouquinho.
You may give me a few more words than that.
But you can say tudo bem. That's how you. Bom dia is good morning. If you say, I want to have a beer, eu quero cerveja.
Right, so they're the most important words.
They're the most important. Oh, tá muito quente. It's very warm.
Very good. So do you teach any of your Brazilian friends any Irish slang?
Well, Vinny, because he's lived in Dublin, he knows a little bit of the Irish, the Irish slang. And he is quite good. Like, he gets it, But some of the lads now, his friend that I work with, like, we just we'll be messing and joking around, and I'll be trying to get him to say things. He doesn't really know what they mean, but he remembers them, and then he'll just randomly say them in the middle of the day, and you're like, oh.
So what else is Sao Paulo famous for? We know we have great street art there. What's the Brazilian food like?
Oh my God, the food is literally barbecue. They call it churrasco here, and everybody, literally for every celebration, it's a barbecue, and it's literally just, I mean, you wouldn't want to be a vegetarian coming to Brazil because it's crazy. Even me, I'm like, it's too much sometimes, The food is quite heavy.
Real barbecue, not like my gas-fired fake barbecue.
Oh, no, proper barbecues. They take their barbecues very seriously. They have them, like, even at Christmas time. Like, now we're coming, well, it's springtime here, but like literally today it's 34 degrees. It's really, really hot. But December is the height of summer. So I was like, it's going to be my first Christmas away from home. And I think I will find it a bit strange, but it's like, I'll have to do like a roast or something on Christmas Day. And the lads are like, no, you're having a barbecue. It's going to be too hot.
Tell me about your working life there, Sharon. I know you're a hairdresser.
Yeah, I'm working in a salon. Vinny and his friend took over a salon here during the pandemic, which is not the best time. But anyway, look, I just go along with it. But no, it's actually quite good. We're busy enough. I've kind of taken a step back because it's very different here. The Brazilian hair is very difficult, So I've kind of taken a step back, and I'm like, teach me more, which is nice for me,
Right, I was going to ask you that about the different cultures, I suppose, and hairstyles. Is it much different to working in Dublin or Clara?
Brazilians love blonde. It's extremely difficult here, it's a bigger job, so when someone books in for highlights, you're like, oh Jesus, we're going to be here now for about 10 hours. And that's not even a joke. Literally, there's clients that just sit here, but they're so patient,
Right.
They want to be blonde. They know it takes time, and the Brazilians are so laid back, they're very chilled.
Are they very Irish in their approach? Are they friendly?
They're very friendly. In fact, I would have said the Irish were very friendly, but like the Brazilians they're unbelievable. Like, they're so warm, and like most of my friends in Dublin were Brazilian. I worked in a salon and had a lot of Brazilian staff, and they became really good friends. And they're just really easygoing people. They're very warm. They hug and they kiss, and they just, especially here since I've gotten here, like, people want to get to know me. They try to speak English, or they'll try and help me, in some way. So, I mean, I've no Irish community here, but like I have a really good group of people around me, with the clients, Vinny's family, his friends. They've been amazing because it is hard, it's hard when you're in a country and you don't speak the language, and you have to kind of step back a little bit. Like, my independence, it's a huge city. You kind of have to be more careful. The security is it's not like walking around Dublin or Clara.
Sounds like you've settled in great.
I have. I mean, it's been tough with the pandemic and everything because we really did come at a time where like everybody is like, this is not the real Brazil. It's not the real Brazil. I feel like in the last couple of weeks, things have improved, and I don't know, it's not good for the pandemic, but for me, it's getting better. Like, it is easier, and we're working. Since we started working, it's been much better. You've got a purpose in your day, and you need that.
So before we finish up, Sharon, tell me some of the things you miss from Clara.
Of course, I miss my family. I really miss my nieces and nephews. I miss like Dara and Aaron, Ethan and Kate. They're just amazing. I miss them so much. My mum and my dad. And I miss my friends. I miss the Scullies in the green. I miss the food. I miss like the Chinese. I miss having a Chinese takeaway. I just miss Clara's it's a great community, and like there's always great support there. And when you go back, you just, no matter where you are, like even I lived in Dublin for nearly 3 years, and it's home, it's always going to be home.
So everything apart from the weather then, you miss?
Yeah. I prefer the weather here.
Sharon, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. Thanks for thinking of me. It's really nice. And it's lovely to hear everybody else as well. Like, it's really good when you're away from home. So thank you so much for thinking of me.
You're very welcome. It's nice to hear good vibes from Brazil, and keep up the samba and the barbecues.
Oh, jeez, I'll try.
and you may get foremost on the jukeboxes over there straight away.
Absolutely, yeah, I'll try.
Thanks, Sharon.
And plug them. Thank you. Bye, Lloyd.
Take care. Anybody else feeling like a barbecue after that? Great stuff there from Sharon Kavanagh. Let's see where we're off to next. Can you guess? Elaine Corcoran, what's the story?
Hey Lloyd, how's it going?
I'm very well, thank you. Elaine, tell everyone what part of the world you're in at the moment.
I am over in Perth. I've been here since 2011 with a few other people from Clara out here as well, who most of you will also know. My husband Ronan, he's out here since 2011.
A neighbour of mine as well, Ronan Collins.
Well, half of Raheen is out here. So yeah, Ronan is out here, David is out here, Jimmy Flattery's out here. Yeah, so it's Raheen has taken over part, I think.
Jeez, you'll have to have your own Raheen social club out there, will you?
Now, there's a mini Ronan Collins, so Raheen crew is spreading.
Very good. You're originally from Church Road. People will know Corcoran's farm down there very well.
I think people will know maybe Corcoran's farm, but they mightn't even necessarily know me because, if you went to school with me or whatever, a few years above or below, sometimes in Clara I'm a bit of an enigma. Like, people don't know I even exist. Like, I'll walk,
I feel like that. I live in Clara.
Like, I'll walk into Baggots and someone will say, who's she? And then another person says, she's a Corcoran from Church Road. And then they'll say, what age is she now? And I'll turn around and I'm like, man, I can hear you. Like, I'm standing right here.
I'm buying milk here beside you.
I know. People probably know like Sean and Liam, the two lads, more than anyone. And then Katrina is around still, I suppose. Right. I'm the only one that's away. Yeah.
So why the move away then to Australia?
I was qualified as a psychologist in Ireland, and you can, it's easy enough to get work as a psychologist. But even back then, like, that was the start, well, in the middle of the recession kind of thing. And Ronan, as an engineer, was struggling to get work as well. But he was going between Ireland and Spain at the time. And just there wasn't as many opportunities back in Ireland as what they were here. Like, my ultimate goal was to set up my own practice. And it's a bit harder to do that in Ireland. Like, definitely the way you can set up businesses here in Australia is a lot easier. And so we made the big move and haven't looked back. We didn't intend to stay there stay here as long as we have. I think when I left in the August, my mother was like, "Sure, we'll see you home at Christmas." And I'm like, "Yeah, probably." And then another year, and then another year, and then another couple of years, and then we're here nearly 10 years.
I think everybody has that outlook when they're emigrating, that they can always come back, or maybe come back in a month or two.
It's kind of like, we'll just see how it goes. And then, Perth has been very good to us. And it's not that, we definitely don't prefer one over the other or anything like that. Clara will always be home and home to both of us. So, we've very strong ties with Clara, but, it's a very easy way of life here, and we're both self-employed. We both have our own businesses. And so in that regard, we have a high level of control over how we live our lives and how we, it's easier.
Right. So you're a clinical director for Brain Training Australia. That sounds very interesting.
I worked as a corporate psychologist for the first 6 years of being out here, and then the first five and a half years. But in 2016, then I opened up my own practice, and I started out with 3 staff members, and then that grew to 6, and then that grew to 9, and then it was 11, and now we're at 34, and I'm kind of like, God, it's getting a bit out of control now at this stage. But we're all over Australia. It's we're in every state, and we specialise in brain training. So it's neurofeedback technology that we use to retrain brain activity. So we see a lot of people with mental health issues, and people who are struggling with depression and anxiety and high stress or confidence, self-esteem, insomnia, people who can't get a good night's sleep, and we also see a lot of people with dementia, Alzheimer's, children with autism, learning disabilities, ADD, ADHD. So, we see everything,
so
but
it's a huge
you don't have to be
in that career.
If you're not looking at brain training, if you're not looking at integrating technology into looking at the brain activity and how to retrain it, the alternative that's out there that most people will be familiar with is talk therapy, like counselling. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons why I opened up my practice was because when I worked as a corporate psychologist here first, men are, not so open to going for counselling or to getting help. And, I was working with a lot of fly-in, fly-out mining workers, and flying up on site and seeing all the mental health issues there, and they'd rather keep closed off and suffer in silence than actually put their hand up and see a psychologist or see a counsellor. So when I was opening up my practice, I wanted it to be a proactive approach to mental health and to break down the barriers that existed there for people, but also to reduce the stigma that's attached to mental health. You shouldn't have to go around with a cloak and dagger. It shouldn't be this big black thing that people don't talk about.
Yeah. Now with lockdowns looming, our mental health is more important than ever. From your experience, can we train our brain to be more positive through this situation?
Yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. So with talk therapy, you're creating those new neural networks in your brain to think otherwise, because say, for example, somebody that's anxious, they have a really high activity in their brain. They're always switched on. They can think about things that haven't even happened. They're always planning way too far in advance, and they're always switched on. So when they try to go to sleep at night, they can't switch off. And you need to be able to switch off to counteract
I think
a busy brain.
You're after describing me there in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, but if you're busy and, being switched on and in the zone and doing your thing, when you go to sleep at night, that's where you empty out the trash bin for the day, and you start the next day on a nice balanced playing field. And yeah, and if you're not getting into those deeper levels of sleep or getting a proper night's sleep, then you won't be able to start the next day. You won't jump out of the bed in the morning full of vitality, ready to take on the day. You'll kind of start on the back foot.
So what advice would you give Clara, people listening now? Unfortunately, we are heading into maybe another lockdown, level 3 as we call it here. What advice would you give to people here to keep the mental health healthy?
Well, there's a few things, Lloyd, that I think are super, super important. So, for example, it's really good to know the difference between what you can control and what you can't control. Things that you can control, for example, is your reaction, your response to the restrictions that are being placed. And you can control your positive attitude. You can control how you follow the recommendations. You can control kindness and your grace towards other people. You can control your own social distancing, for example, and you can limit your social media because, again, that's more information coming into the brain. And you can control finding fun things to do at home. Things that you can't control then are the things you need to just let go and let yourself off the hook about them, because you can't control if others follow the rules of social distancing or the restrictions being put in place. You can't control the actions of others, for example. You can't predict what's going to happen. So just stop worrying about what's going to happen in next week or in a couple of weeks' time. Just worry about what's happening right now. And another thing that we can't control is we don't know how long this is going to last. So instead of running ahead and worrying about things that haven't even happened yet, just think about the present and just think about, what's within your power to control, what you can do, and try and not focus on what you can't do, because that's what will stem. That's where anxiety will come. That's where high stress will come. That's where people will start having anger or feeling highly strung or wanting to, retaliate or fight back about the restrictions. So that doesn't fare well for a really healthy mindset. So in essence, it just does come down to drawing a line down the middle of a page and saying things you can control, things you can't.
And Elaine, it's also very important to check in on our vulnerable or elderly neighbours in our community.
Yeah, again, it's a thing you can do. It's easy for you to pick up the phone, have a conversation with them. If somebody can't get to the shop, if they're elderly and if they're in fear and they're worried that they can't go and get their basic essentials, offer to pick themselves, to pick them up something in the shop and make sure that they have what they need so that they can feel safe. If you're young, healthy, fit and strong, and you tick all the boxes of somebody that's not in that high risk category, reach out to somebody who mightn't be as fortunate, who might have those underlying health conditions and who might be absolutely terrified right now, and see if you can help them out a bit. But also just pick up the phone and have a chat with them, see how they're going, any news, have they been talking to anybody else, and just have a conversation, because that human connection is really, really important to, let them know that somebody actually cares about them.
So you mentioned, Elaine, you have your own little family there now. Your son, Nia, what age is he now?
He is 16 months and he is full of beans. He loves to climb. He is starting to say a few words, which is really fun. And he's obsessed with cows and diggers at the moment. So, that's the highlight of my life.
And stay away from the accordion. That's the advice there I give him.
Well, speaking of the accordion, Ronan's actually playing at a gig as we speak. So
right, very good.
It's... The accordion hasn't been packed away out here or anything. It's still on the go.
You mentioned a few minutes ago about checking in on people with technology. Now, is that important for you now, being in Australia, checking in with your mum and dad?
Yeah, just a few minutes before you rang me, I was just on the phone to home. So we'll always... I probably speak to my mother nearly every day. And, probably if I was in Ireland, I don't know, would we talk to each other that often? Probably every second day. But I think it's really important to always just check in, say hi, what's going on, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. Like, you don't have to stay on the phone for an hour. Like, you just check in, hi, what's happening, any news, any update, and just let them know what's going on in your life. Like, that's really important as well. Like, when it comes to relationships with other people, the people who do care about you will want to know how you're going.
When was the last time you were home helping on Corcoran's farm, Elaine?
We were just home at Christmas, myself, Ronan and Nia. We were... it was Nia's first Christmas, so it was very important for us to have his first Christmas at home. Yeah. And, that was the first time he got to meet my parents. And my sister, Katrina, she had come out when he was like 5 weeks old. She came out for a fortnight. That was brilliant. That was amazing. And Ronan's parents, they came out when he was born. So that was great to have them here as well. Tell
me about some of the things you miss from Clara, Elaine.
Good. Well, yeah, family is the obvious one for us. Like, be the two of us from Clara, it's hard not to miss the family. They're only a couple of meters, 100 meters away from each other. Yeah. When we go home, it's like we have to divide and conquer, because there's so many things that we want to do. There's so many people we want to see. Usually we're only there for like 2 or 3 weeks. For me, well, for Ronan as well, it's the people. Like, it's the people we went to school with. It's just the people who we're friends with since childhood. Like, some of my closest friends in my life are people that I went to school with, that I sat beside when I was 4 years of age. And I still have those relationships. And I think, that's nothing to be sneezed at. So I love going home and just hanging out with people. Like, it's not necessarily going anywhere or doing anything. It's just hanging out with them face to face and just being in their kitchen, having a cup of tea and seeing their kids running around the place.
The simple things.
It's just a simple thing. So like we definitely, and we're good at keeping in contact with people and keeping those relationships. But I'm probably a bit better at that than Ronan. But don't tell him I said that.
Elaine Corcoran, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
Pleasure, Lloyd. So lovely to chat to you.
Best of luck in your business. I know you're doing very well, and with Ronan as well.
Thanks.
And Nia, of course.
Yeah.
I know Bridie and Jerry and all them be listening in.
Can I say hello to the Corcorans in Church Road, the Collinses in Raheen, the Tempanys in Cork Hill, and I've Colgans in Captain Curry as well that I can't forget. And anybody else, I apologise in advance for not mentioning you. But I have to stick with the family,
Elaine Corcoran, thanks a million.
All right. Thanks a million, Lloyd. See ya.
So nice to hear some Clara people very positive. I'm doing very well abroad. It's really good to hear. So where to next? Can you spot where this theme tune is from? Kenneth McAvoy, what's the story?
Hello, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm okay. We're getting there.
Good.
Kenneth, you left Marion Square in 1986 for the Bright Lights of London, I believe. Was that a big culture shock, that move?
Oh, Lloyd, a culture shock. You can imagine now being a young Clara fella, like going over to a big city like London. It was an awesome move, really. But I had to do it at the time, work-wise and all. I had to move because the work was fairly scarce around Offaly and around Ireland at that time. I wanted to try and better myself, But it was a great culture shock. But I loved every minute of London. I got there at a young age. I enjoyed it very, very much.
Right. Of course, you lived in many different places in the UK since 1986.
I moved from London up to Birmingham, and I lived in Birmingham for a couple of years, and there I met my present partner, Maggie. Then we moved up to Manchester. I've been in Manchester now for the last 20-odd years,
Right, so is it the blue side or the red side, Kenneth?
Oh, Lloyd, there's only one side. Once a red, never a blue, bloody hell.
I'm sorry for your troubles. Well, I'm a Sunderland fan, so I can't really talk.
Oh, well, that's the kettle in the pot come to mind,
Kenneth, will you tell me some of your memories of Clara back in the 80s, I suppose? What's your earliest memories?
Oh, my earliest memories of Clara is growing up in Clara as a young fella. It was the most pleasurablest time of my life. There wasn't a lot of money around at that time, but as kids we had a great little time. We used to go play football. I used to go up to Cashewan to play football up at the big green door. It's now, do you know where Michael Egan had his place? Someone else probably owns it now.
I know it well, yeah.
I used to go up there playing football with the Keenahans, with Niall and Brian and Lord of Mercy on Brian, and then we used to. It was all football, and then the Marion Square gang, we used to all meet the tennis pitch beside Porkbreed, and everyone my age played in Porkbreed, including your brother Lorenzo.
Right.
We used to play football there, and it was a great whole crack. Everyone, they were all innocent lads, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant upbringing. And then I grew up and I worked with Tommy Dolan, and I met all on the milk round. I met all the characters you could ever meet there, and the crack was mighty.
Tell me about that, mate. That was a young start for you, was it?
Oh, yeah. I was very young when I started working with Tommy Doyle. About 16, I'd say, yeah. Maybe just gone 16. And it was brilliant. Tommy was a really nice fella to work for, and he was a great whole crack, He had a great personality. And we'd be up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, and we'd go around. And then when they'd all start to wake up and come out and chat Tommy, actually, he was a laugh a minute.
So those early starts got you ready for London, did it?
Oh, yeah, Jesus Christ. But yes, there was some earlier starts in London, believe you me. Jesus.
So, like, you're like many people in Clara, you also worked in Good Buddies.
I did, yes, for a small while. I started in the bag room, and I was there for a small while. Then I got transferred to the Polly Poplin, which was even better because the money was better there, you know what I mean? It was all about the money, And I worked the 4 cycle shifts in the Polly, and that was brilliant at the time. But then, unfortunately, Good Buddies closed. And it was unfortunate for a lot of people. It was big, as you probably well know, it was a big employer in Clara and further afield,
Yeah, a lot of people got their apprenticeship in Good Buddies, didn't it?
Absolutely. It was a great place to work. It was a great community thing. The Good Buddies were very good to Clara, really, if you think about it,
So can I go back again then? So tell me about your parents then and about some family over here that people might know. Of course, people would know Nigel very well in town.
Oh, yes. Well, I have one brother, Nigel. As you all know, he's a legend in his own way. And I have 3 sisters, Marion, who lives in Kilcorsey. I have Dolores, who lives in Tyrone. And I've got another sister called Julia, who lives in Fermanagh. And my mum and dad have both passed on. My dad was a Tullamore man, well, Dora, I suppose you could call it, on the border of Tullamore. And my mother was a Clara woman. She was a Welsh from the Green, but all her family came from the hills. So all the Welsh is a big family of them up in the hills. You'd know of them all anyway, Paddy Welsh and all them,
Yeah.
They'd be all first cousins of my mother. And the Duffys, Paddy Duffy, he'd be married to an auntie of yours, actually, I think.
That's right, Geraldine.
And Paddy and Andy would be first cousins of my mother as well.
Very good. So a big connection still in Clara for you.
Yeah. I love going home, like, yeah, I really do.
When do you come home? Do you come home in the summertime?
Well, I do mostly. Now, with this COVID light this year, we're a bit snooker because there was a couple of things I wanted to go to. A couple of maybe funerals and things like that I wanted to attend this year, and I couldn't attend them because of the COVID. But I normally come home in the summertime or maybe an anniversary mass for my mother. But I do try and make the All-Ireland hurling final or football final every year if I can. Like,
you still follow the GEA then, Kenneth?
Oh, I love the GEA. Oh, Jesus, my first love. Yeah, of course.
It keeps a lot of expats going, doesn't it, the GEA? Looking at it on TV and keeping up the scores and that.
Oh, it does, of course. Like it's a major thing within the Irish community here in Britain, And they also have their own teams here too, in Manchester and in Birmingham and in London,
Right, what are they like? Can it any good?
Oh, they're not too bad, There's a hurling club here now in Manchester, Full and Gales, and they'll be pretty good. They beat Ballinabeer now a few years ago down in Pork na HÉireann in Birmingham in an All-Ireland semi-final. Junior, I think, or some junior C or something like that.
Ballinabeer was sent back with the tail between the legs.
Well, they were beaten by a point that day anyway in Birmingham, yeah.
You've also spent some time on the Irish committee there in Manchester.
Yes, I still help out there, yeah. I was on it for a few years there. It's one of my loves there, the Irish club in Manchester, It's run by a lot of good people, But like they're suffering now with the COVID now as well, but it's a beautiful club. If you ever get a chance, if you're in Manchester, you should visit. It's really, really nice.
A lot of people did emigrate to England years ago. Have you met some of those people in your time that went over there?
Oh, indeed, I have up and down. Yes, I have met them all. Well, not them all, but a lot of them I've met. In different parts of England, Birmingham, London, and Manchester, of course. Yes, I have indeed. Yeah.
What's your working life like then, being like in England?
Well, I work in construction, Lloyd. I've worked in construction now since I left Ireland, and like everything else, I learned it over here, and you didn't know much about construction when I left. But now I'm fairly up to date. I'm driving machinery, and I'm into machinery in a big way. I'm kept busy. I'm never out of work. I've a lot of good contacts. You know what I mean? And
is the boom coming back?
Well, Jesus, the boom. They want to put this COVID has caused a lot, but you never know. You never know. I don't think anywhere is booming at the moment, really,
Any advice for anybody thinking of emigrating over to the UK?
At the moment, I'd stay where I am at the moment. Things are slow at the moment, but I'd say that you'll always get work here. There's always a bit of work going on if you're willing to work, And just at the moment, with the COVID, I'd stay where we are at the moment. But down the line, I wouldn't not encourage someone. If a young lad needed work and he felt there was nothing for him back at home, yeah, by all means, you could make a life for yourself here, yeah.
Venture into the Manchester Irish Centre.
Oh, yeah, if I could sort them out, I'd help them out. But I do often get tickets for the lads for the games now and again, They often come over for the old Manchester United games,
So if anyone's listening in Clara heading over to Manchester Irish Centre looking for a job, wear a red jersey. That's what you're saying.
What? If you're a Blue, keep away, please. or a Liverpool fan, yeah.
Nigel might have to say something about that.
Oh, stop. Him and Alan Cronin will just stop it.
Kenneth, do you think Clara has changed much since you left in 1986?
Oh, it has a lot. It has a lot, Lloyd. Absolutely. Yeah, it's different generations in my time now. Obviously the generations are different. The youngsters, they don't do the same things as we done back in our day. But yeah, it has changed.
Do you think technology has changed all that, Kenneth? Was it much simpler times than obviously in the 80s?
Yeah, I think the 80s were probably much simpler times. The people hadn't got as much as they have now. And obviously technology has done a big thing to it too, hasn't it?
There's definitely better music anyway in the 80s, wasn't there?
Oh, you better believe it. And then if you ask someone that was born in the 60s, they'll probably tell you, or that was around the 60s, they'll hear the 60s was. So, but to me, the 80s was the music, yes.
So what were you listening to back in the 80s, Kenneth?
Oh, I loved everything. I loved Pink Floyd and Madness, and I loved them all,
Brilliant. You didn't bring Foster and Allen or anything over to England with you when you went?
Well, funny enough now, I do love that whole crack as well. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. So, where is your first port of call when you come home to Clara, Kenneth?
Well, every time I step in Clara, my first port of call is I go up to the cemetery to my mother and father's grave.
Lovely.
And then I know I'm home, and then I go and visit my sisters and the local pubs then, and have the crack with the boys. And you can't beat it. I have some great old friends in Clara. My best friend is still in Clara. Actually, he lost his mother last year, Gerald Tracy.
Right.
Me and Gerald were great old friends growing up. You know what I mean? We still are. You know.
Would you ever come back to Ireland, do you think, Kenneth?
Well, no, funny enough, if you asked me that question 10 years ago, I'd have said, no, I can't see it. But since this COVID, I've thought about it quite a lot. We've discussed it, actually. So I will never say never now, you know, because you can never say never. You can never tell, you know.
Kenneth, is there anyone you'd like to say hello to back home who might be listening?
Yes, I'd like to say hello to my sister, Marion, and my sisters, Dolores and Judy and Nigel, if they're listening, and to all my friends, Gerald Tracy and Martin Tracy and all Desi Dolan and all the lads, Clara, and I wish you all well, and I hope you're all getting on well. I hope you're all surviving well in COVID, and
brilliant. Actually,
fingers crossed things will get better.
You mentioned Martin Tracy there. We uploaded a brilliant video of the Clara Youth Centre back in the 70s, I suppose. Would you have been a part of that?
I've seen it, Lloyd. Yes, I was on and off at the Youth Centre. My sisters had a lot more to do with Youth Centre, Judy, maybe in her time. You know what I mean? But I did see it on YouTube. The video was very good, actually. Yeah.
Brilliant. What's the COVID situation like there where you are, Kenneth?
Oh, it's bad, Lloyd. It's bad, and I can't see any into it here. And it's new. It's frightening, really, because it's new to us all. It's new to everyone, really, isn't it? It seems to be getting worse here now coming into the winter. But you'll have a lot of flus now and that too, and there'll be a lot of things that'll happen, you know. It's new, and a lot of people are weary of it, and a lot of people are the other spectrum and they don't care about it. And you've got to care, because if it's killing people, you've got to care, you know.
That's it. Yeah, there's always going to be that divide in everything. Unfortunately, that's what makes the world go round, you know. Kenneth McAvoy, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Lloyd, and keep it going. I'm really enjoying them weekly, and
Brilliant.
Thank you for having me, Lloyd.
Right, that was Manchester. Maybe we head off to somewhere a little warmer. Where to next? Megan Tabella, what's the story?
Hi Lloyd, how are you?
I'm not too bad now, I'm getting there, thank you. Megan, first of all, tell everyone where in Clara you're from originally and perhaps who your parents are.
So my parents are Neville Tabella and Breda Tabella. Live up in Badgers Lane there, but I mean, we've been everywhere. So I think St Patrick's Terrace, Lakeview, Railway View, Marion Square, but finally settled up in Kilcorsey the past few years.
You've done a tour of Clara then?
The entire tour of Clara, yeah, we settled on Kilcorsey.
And just to make everyone very jealous, tell everyone where you are now.
So I'm talking to you from Dubai.
Oh God, what's the weather like there?
Well, what's the weather like where you are first?
Not great. So make us very jealous and tell us what it's there.
Yeah, no, it's fab. It's about 36 degrees today.
Do you get used to that, or does it get too hot?
Well, that's the thing. I'm so used to it now. I come home in the summer back home and I ask them to put on a fire. So
that's unheard of in Ireland now. You can't be putting on the fire in the summer.
I know, you'd be killed, wouldn't you? But twice a year, I'd say we get a bit of rain. But other than that, it's sun. But you get so used to it as well.
Yeah. How long have you been there?
I left Clara in 2012, so I've been here for just going on 8 years now, I'd say.
Right. And so what was the attraction to Dubai?
Well, I was in the University of Limerick and I was finishing up, and I honestly hadn't a clue what I wanted to do or where I was going to go. And it was back in those days where jobs weren't easy found. So some fella came and had a chat, and he said, you know, I have this job in Dubai, come over, teach some kids. Like, my degree is not in teaching at all. I had no experience with children, hadn't a clue how to do it, but didn't seem to stop them from offering me the job anyway.
Right, so tell us, so what did you do in Limerick then?
So I studied law originally, so I have a degree in law and a master's in law, so that's where I was intending on going, but somehow ended up in Dubai teaching after that. Well, I was there for about 4 years, and it was, to be fair, I don't want to say it wasn't like a real school, but like it wasn't full of qualified people like myself who were just kind of chancing their arm at some time in Dubai. So I did that for about 4 years, and it was good crack. The holidays were amazing. You finish at 3:00, you're on the beach afterwards, and it's great. But I did that for about 4 years, and then I said I'd probably have to get myself a job that I can do, you know, continuously for the rest of my life. So an office I went.
Great. So what are you at now, Megan?
I've just started a new job actually. So I'm a marketing manager for a law firm. So they've got like 7 offices throughout the Middle East. So I do all the marketing for them, but I've only just started that. I started that in June. And before that, I was in Saudi. So I'm just getting back to normal life here now.
Okay, so when you told your parents, Breda and Neville, first that you were up in sticks and heading to Dubai, what was their reaction?
They didn't care, Lloyd, which is a bit worrying.
Sounds like my parents.
Yeah, it was very much see you later.
I suppose your family, though, would be naturally, travelling different places in different countries, so it probably wasn't a surprise to them.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I mean, it's good for them as well. They have an excuse to come on holidays once or twice a year. I mean, it's nice, for them to have an excuse to jet off on holidays. And I'm always happy to have someone to come and say hello as well.
Was it easy to integrate when you got there?
There's a massive Irish community, actually. We've got a few GA teams. I mean, the most popular bar over here, of course, is an Irish bar. So, I mean...
Surprise.
What are the chances? And then everyone I know is Irish. So it's a home away from home in itself. Like, we've got a lovely little community and, everybody looks out for everyone else. It's actually a very easy place to live.
People would have it in their head that Dubai is a strict country. Is that true?
No, it's grand. I think, it's a bit like Ibiza. Like, everyone's walking around in their bikinis with their fake lips and everything. Not me, like.
I wouldn't test the bikini myself now. The fake lips I might give a go.
I wouldn't. Not after lockdown either, I tell you. So yeah, it's more like a party city. Like, it's full of tourists. People are coming and going all the time. There's always something to do. And I mean, I've just come from Saudi, like I said, and that's the serious stuff where you have to cover up and you can't talk to anyone, you can't drink. But I mean, all completely different. Like, you couldn't hack it.
Right, imagine that. So in your free time then, apart from hanging out with the Irish community there, what's your hobbies there? What keeps you going?
Well, it's starting to cool down now, which is nice. So to be honest with you, the summer's so hot, there's nothing you can really do. You're just inside all the time. But it's cooled down now. So there's actually some lovely places to go. We have like the mountains, you can go hiking. There's the beach. There's like a lot of water sports. So we'd spend a lot of time on the beach. I wouldn't do any water sports because I can't swim, but I watch everyone else do them. But yeah, there's lots to do. Depends on what you're into, I suppose, in that kind of way. Like, there's nature, we've got like the biggest shopping mall in the world and like the big fountains and all of that as well. So,
Have you got pennies though? Have you got a pennies?
Stop it. Anytime anyone comes over, I'm telling you, they've got bags full of pennies, Lions tea bags and soda bread.
So pennies are missing a trick then in the Irish community there.
I went shopping for a pair of socks once and they were €12. Yeah.
So if anybody from Clara, or I suppose anybody in Ireland, was thinking of emigrating to Dubai, what advice would you give them, Megan?
Well, I definitely say don't come over here unless you already have a job, because I mean, same as anywhere now, the job market's really down. So a lot of people have actually had to leave. So there's been like a mass exodus after COVID and everything. So I wouldn't come unless you had a job in your hand already. But just suppose not to believe what you see in the papers or what you see on the news or anything like that. It's not a strict country. It's very welcoming. The people are lovely. And just be aware that it's very expensive.
Right.
That's one thing I would say. It is very expensive to live here.
What's the COVID situation like there? Is it a big issue in the Emirates?
Do you know what it is? We get about 1,000 new cases a day. But the thing is, they can't run this country without tourism. It's the problem. So they've had to let everybody back in. So it's all social distancing and masks, and you have to get tested before you come in. You have to get tested before you leave. And they've got massive fines. If you're caught without a mask, I think it's like 3,000 dirham fine, which I think is about €750.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, take it seriously, but we're all back to work. I mean, the pubs are open, the bars are open, the beaches are open, but the cases are skyrocketing as well. But there's just nothing you can really do. You have to live with it, I suppose.
Let it run its course. That's their stance on it, I suppose.
Yeah, just be careful and sanitise, and sure, you know yourself, but it still doesn't stop it, does it?
No, it definitely doesn't, no. So you've lots of family back home here in Clara. Do you still keep in touch with a lot of them?
Oh yeah, of course. We've got our little WhatsApp group with all the aunties, all the Fitzpatricks, and then
I'd love to be a fly in the wall now in that WhatsApp group. So that's a serious WhatsApp group there now.
You wouldn't, I tell you that much.
There'll be a bit of slagging going on.
Oh, stop. And then, you've got the regular calls to my Nana Tabella as well. So, I mean, that's where you'd want to be a fly on the wall, because she's gas.
We'll have to get her on the podcast.
Oh, stop. Oh.
But I suppose modern technology now, it's brilliant. You can just pick up the phone like we're doing now. I mean, it's so easy now rather than years ago. Or maybe even when you went out there first, it was probably still like this. You had Facebook and that type of thing.
But the problem was, well, over here, it still is an issue, but you've got VPNs now, but like Facebook calls and WhatsApp calls, they're all illegal.
No way. Illegal?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the government own the like phone companies here, so they want all the money from the ringing home and stuff. So all these video calls and stuff, they're all illegal. So you have to stick on your VPN. I have VPN on now chatting you, and I have to do it if I want to ring home as well. It's mad.
That's unbelievable. So we potentially could be arrested for this. So Megan, what do you miss from back home then?
I think it's the same whenever anyone leaves home, really. I miss my family and my friends, and I'd say I'll get shot for saying this, but the number one miss is my dog.
Right, your dog is still back here.
But yeah, little things. I miss like going for a walk around like Liskniski in the mornings with my mother, like that. We do that when I come home, and going shopping with my friends or going out for a drink with the girls. It's just little things, and have to say I miss a Ben Wu. That's something
Everybody misses Ben.
I tell you, when I come home, my profits must skyrocket. So
you need a franchise for Penny's and you need a franchise for Ben Wu's Chinese restaurant out there.
Yeah, I could be rolling in it if I took this on. Company here who started selling chicken fillet rolls, and I'd say they're absolutely, laughing to the bank now. All the Irish are going mad for it.
So do you think you'll ever come back, Megan?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I think it'd be very hard for me to come back now after 8 years. I don't know how I'd be able to handle it, like living kind of in the cold again. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like looking out at the palm trees here. It's very hard.
Well, enjoy the palm trees, Megan, and thanks very much for joining me on the podcast this morning.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Lloyd. Thanks. Take care.
That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed the XPAT chat this week on episode 15. We'll try and get some people back in the studio when everything is back to normal, whenever that will be. So thanks very much. Thanks for listening, and check us all out on the social channels. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
This podcast is brought to you by Midland Saxon Covers, Clara, County Offaly. We make custom covers for any requirement or project. Screen printing service is also available. Find us at midlandsaxoncovers.ie.
You just listened to What's the Story with Lloyd Bracken. Check out all our social channels for info on new episodes. Oh, and thanks for listening. On the Town.